Welcome back to another episode of the Big Classic Podcast. Hope everyone's week was amazing. Man, get the lights right. What are you doing? How are we going to start the podcast and get the lights right afterwards?
Bro, go ahead.
So today we got a real treat here. We got Shane, who is just recently coming off an overall victory at the Steve Stone Classic that was held in Teaneck, New Jersey this past weekend. The best bodybuilder in both Masters and Open. So he is ready. And what's the first question everybody asks you when you're done?
What was my first meal that I had? What did I go after?
So what did you have?
I had me some fucking pancakes.
Pancakes.
Yeah. Pancakes and then chicken parmesan.
There you go. All right. That sounds good. My favorite always after a show was something with peanut butter, cereal and milk, and typically appetizers. Big appetizer freak, like jalapeno poppers, calamari, oysters, oyster Rockefeller, stuff like that. I was always big in the appetizers. Like we went to, at my last show, I went to Outback afterwards, and I ordered like 7 or 8 different appetizers, and they were like, "What do you want for the main course?" Nothing. I don't want to touch no steak. I don't want to touch no chicken, no fish, at least for a couple weeks, right? So where's your mindset now, man? When you were there, we did 2 shows back to back.
Yeah, so, we did the Philly first, April 1st, and, felt like that was like the warm-up, what I mean? It had been like about 2 years since I stepped on stage, but, the nerves were definitely there with me when I stepped on stage. I felt it. So it was the warm-up. But when we went into the Steve Stone show, I felt real calm. The jitters was out. The quarter turns was flowing. You know what I mean? I was in the moment, and everything just aligned perfectly.
Yeah. And we find out all the little stuff matters, man. Doesn't it? Like, it's crazy. Like, you train so hard for so long, and you say, and you're on stage, you think everything's going perfect, and you're like, it's the little things. Like, how much do I got to pump up right before? Making sure I don't use anything other than salt. Making sure I'm not, how hard is it to not sip more than 4 ounces of water?
It's very hard.
It's very hard. like we put like 8 ounces or 12 ounces or 4 ounces, and at first, like, you start carving up and you're like, 8 ounces of water, no big deal, because you just got done soaking yourself with 3 gallons the day before.
Yep.
What's it feel like when you're drinking 8 ounces by meal 4? Like,
it just feels like barely enough to wash the food down. And because I'd be so tempted, I would just fill up my shaker cup with 4 ounces, and that's all I kept in the hotel refrigerator room per meal. So I wouldn't get the temptation to overdrink it.
Right.
It was measured out precisely.
Yeah. My coach, when I was coming up, we would usually cut water, and I found that through the years, when you cut water completely, you definitely can get that dry effect, but you also get a flatter look to you, right? You stay a little fuller. Like, you can almost not even add more carbs, but just add a little bit of fluid, and you get a little fuller, right?
Some more.
Yeah, because, it takes the water to digest those carbs. But I found that he would have me do, after prejudging, 6 ounces of orange juice, right? With the idea that it's replenish the glycogen in the liver and as well as the muscles, right? To make sure everything's working right. And I found that to be incredibly hard to sit there with 6 ounces of orange juice. And I always say, like I tell people, don't even touch it until you're done eating.
Yeah.
Right?
I remember you gave me 8 on the day of my show, and I went to the restaurant down the street. It was all my family and everything, so do 8 ounces, 6 ounces of steak, and whatever potato. And I literally walked in there. They gave me the whole thing of orange juice. I pulled out my blender bottle, put it in there, make sure it was 8.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna savor it every minute.
Yeah, that 8 ounces is nothing either, man. It's crazy.
Oh my God. I was like,
It's not.
And it's nuts because, like, 2 days earlier, you're sitting there like, I can't drink no more. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, you can't drink enough. And it's, and it's truly what the diet is, right? Like, throughout the whole prep, what do you feel? Like, you eat and you feel good for how long?
You know, not very long. And I was telling somebody else about this. It's crazy. You know what I mean? You starve yourself all the way up until it comes time, and then it's like when you can finally eat. Now I can't have nothing to drink to wash it down.
Yeah, you know.
Now it's time to dehydrate yourself and nothing to drink.
Yeah, that's the worst, man. It's almost one of the tough. Like when you're first starting, it's one of the toughest parts of the prep, right? It's like because now that we don't truly cut water, it still sucks though because it's like you're more thirsty.
Yeah.
Right? Like when you start to cut water, it's like that first 8 hours, 12 hours is tough, but then you kind of get used to it. When you're constantly taking in like 8 ounces or 10 ounces every meal, it's like it just makes you want more water.
Right. Exactly.
And which makes sense because if my body's still craving it and wanting it, then it's still releasing it, right? So, but yeah, I think that it's when I say it's the tail of the entire diet is you're going through off season and it's like God, I don't want to eat all this food, right? It's like there's so much food I got to eat, and then you get into prep and it's like you're all right for a little bit, but then you're like frustrated because you really want to start cutting. And then when you start cutting, you're like, I'm so hungry, I want to eat something.
Right.
It's like there's never, and what it tells you is, what is our whole goal? The whole goal during a prep or off season is what? Keep changing.
Right.
And if we're going to change, what can't you be?
You can't be comfortable.
Boom. And it's like the whole entire process is uncomfortable.
Right.
Right? It's never, ever a point where you're like, I just feel good.
Right, like as soon as your body starts to adjust, like okay, this is my new normal routine, and you start to like get comfortable with it. It's like, oh, now it's time for the change.
Right.
Drop the calories.
Right. And then I always say to people, the hardest part about prepping is I'm asking you to give me the most energy when you don't have it. I'm asking for the hardest workouts, the most cardio when you don't have it to give. Right, because you don't have the high body fat. It's like we're trying to force the body to let go of that little last bit. What do you feel like that when you're doing it?
Yeah, and sometimes, it's like a mind game, you know what I mean? Like sometimes when my mind would tell me, you know what I mean, you can cut out early, like 5 minutes early on the cardio. I'm like, yeah, I can cut out 5 minutes earlier on this cardio, but the only person I'm going to be lying to at the end of the day is myself. You know what I mean? And if I don't place where I want to place, then all those regrets are going to come back like, damn, because you cut out 5 minutes here, and that shit adds up very quickly.
Sure.
Yeah.
So when you were up there on stage and you're sitting there in the box, could you truly say to yourself, I did everything I could?
Those thoughts weren't really going through my head. It was just like trying to focus on the moment, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like just being happy overall with the work that I put in, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So reflecting, what are some of the things that you did better this time than you did in previous?
So in the previous, you know what I mean, I didn't, big thing with me was like in the middle of the night I would like wake up and be hungry, and then I would, eat, and which, that made my preps before worse. Like if, I was doing more cardio, calories were less. Whereas with this one, we were like kind of just sailing in, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then I remember you telling me like, you're not meant to suffer, you know what I mean? But like, it's all on you.
Yeah. Well, so because you were following everything to the T, your metabolism was going so fast, we weren't giving your body anything extra that it didn't need.
Right.
So on the days when we were trying to really keep that fullness through your chest and back, we were able to still eat like a big surplus of calories on those days, right? Because the other days we were low, but on those days we were eating those pretty good amount of calories.
Yeah.
Right. So
I think we're upwards around like 3,300 calories.
Yeah, which is really not dieting at that point, right?
Yeah.
You're just eating a good level of calories. You feel pretty good, and that lasts for like a day or two, right?
Yeah, you feel pretty good until about So normally I would have it on like Friday, and then by Sunday, that the hunger would start to kick in again.
Right.
Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. So, and we were doing 2 days for a while, but then at the end we just went to one, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, So like this prep was totally different. How you mentioned you did more cardio last time?
Yeah.
Like how much more?
So last time I was on 45 minutes cardio fasted, 45 minutes of cardio after training. This time we sailed in with week out 30 minutes cardio.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
So it's a total big difference, and you know what I mean? Because last time I was, you know what I mean,
Fucking
not following the process, you know what I mean, messing up on my diet, you know, not following it to the T like I should. But then this time when I decided to go in after this, I fully committed myself, and then you know what I mean, decided, you know what I mean, I'm all in on this. You know what I mean, if I'm gonna make this work, you know what I mean, you gotta trust everything that you're saying and just nail it to the T. Like even when it comes to weighing out the food. You know, if it says 6 ounces, it needs to be 6 ounces, not 6.3 or 6.4, 6 ounces.
Say that again, because I think a lot of times people cut small corners and they don't even think about it.
Yeah.
And that, like, if you cut off 6.25 ounces and it's supposed to be 6, if you do that consistently for 7 meals every day, for 1 meal a day, I mean, essentially you're getting a whole nother 7 ounces of protein, right?
Right.
So, like extra 2-3 ounces of protein, and that we didn't account for in the calories, right? Which can be like 90 calories. So, and it matters because as we diet and get further and further away from the set point you started at, your body tries to gravitate back towards that set point. Your body tries to fight you. And that's when you get into it. It's like, how come I have this little bit of fat? Like you see guys, and they'll be like ripped abs, veins everywhere from the front, and they turn around, and you're like, looks like a whole different person. Right? Because that's that stubborn fat that your body doesn't need to lose. Holding on to it, preserving that for survival, and the things your body does, like a lot of trainers now track steps and all that stuff. And the flaw in that is, naturally, when you eat more, you move more.
Right.
Naturally. You just move more. It's just normal, right? So if you say, okay, well, I'm making sure I'm getting my 10,000 steps, you're still going to move less outside of that. You can't, you can't account for the fidgeting you do.
Right.
And the movement and just the picking up this, picking up that, like all that stuff is calories at rest, right? Because you can't account for. It's not at rest because you're not resting, but it's like you just move with more intensity when you eat more, right? So you can track the steps, but you're still gonna drop off somewhere else, right? So it's not a foolproof plan to track the steps, right? So I encourage people to try and keep moving, but when you're dieting, where do you park at? You park as close as possible, right? You park as close as possible. You ain't picking up nothing you don't need to pick up. So I think that factor, I really do. Like, I've coached a lot of people, I've gotten a lot of people in shape, crazy shape, and that never plays into account. And if someone's having a stubborn time getting to their goal, and they're doing everything else perfect, the intensity of the workout is going to be a factor before how many steps you got in, right? So that's just my opinion on it, and that's the way I view it. It's worked, but yeah, I think this time, and it's such a night and day experience because we started from ground zero again.
Yeah.
We did our show when? When was the first show we did?
Well, it was 2019, I think it was. Yeah. 2019, 2020.
20, right?
Oh.
Yeah, that was the hotel picks where so you did one, and then we did another one, right? We've done, this is our fourth show together, right?
Yo. Yeah.
All right, so we did one and we looked okay, but then we did another one where you looked pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do the night before?
Oh, the night before I messed up, and I was supposed to have 2 cookies. This is why you don't keep more than what you're supposed to have with you, because I'm like, I can have 2 cookies, okay, but after the show, I can have more cookies. So buy the whole pack of cookies and bring the cookies with me to the
Right.
show. And unfortunately, you know what I mean, when I'm hungry in the middle of the night, I made the mistake of eating like a whole rack of Oreos. And then half asleep down half a Gatorade the night before.
Oh shit.
And the next morning could just see like kind of just spilled all over.
Yeah, I remember I looked at you and you were posing backstage and you're sweating. And I'm just like, how did I fuck this up?
Yeah.
Like you finally came clean like this prep, but like you didn't tell me at the time. And I'm thinking to
No.
myself, how did I fuck this up? Like, where did I mess up? That I'm going through the notes like this. He shouldn't look like this morning. Like
No.
you're, full as a house and you're fucking sweating. You're holding water. I'm just like, what did we do wrong? Did his diazides not work? Did I feed him too much? But yeah, but and finally he came clean. And I had another client, man. He was like getting in shape so much faster, and I remember like banging my head against the wall, like where am I missing? Like how is he not changing? And he's doing gummy bears during each workout, and I'm like
Eating gummy bears.
during each workout, thinking like the sugar is going to help him. And I'm
Like the fast digesting carbs.
yeah, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why would you do gummy bears? And you're like,
Right.
oh, I read this thing, and they were talking about Rice Krispie treats and all this other stuff. And I'm like, we don't diet that way.
No.
We don't diet it. So he took him out, and everybody last year seeing him was like, holy shit, he looks like a different person. He ended up winning, his class in 3 different shows.
Nice.
And the year before that, he was like, we had to beat him in the ground to get in shape because the calorie count was off for what I thought it was going to be. Right. So I'm not accounting for that, and I'm thinking, okay, he's only eating this amount of calories, and so if you're dieting with a coach, please be honest. Be honest. It only makes it so much harder for the coach to figure out what's going on because you don't even know what I'm looking to find out, what I'm looking to see. Like when I already have in my mind what I want to see when I look at your updates, and if I'm not seeing it, the first thing I'm doing is because you've gotten times where you send updates and it's like you don't hear anything. There's other times where you get updates and I get something right back to you, right?
Right, exactly.
And typically, if I'm getting it right back to you, it's because I'm not exactly seeing what I want to see, or I see something really cool and I'm thinking, okay, if I do this right now, it'll look crazy tomorrow, right? So, like, if you are not 100% honest with your coach, you're hurting yourself. You're hurting yourself, you know?
You're just lying to yourself, yeah.
Yeah, and then the coach is making the wrong decision because he's going on false evidence, right?
Yep, trying to correct something because, you over measured on something or, adding gummy bears in when you think it's beneficial because you read it somewhere else.
Right.
And you're asking for the help of a professional, but taking advice from, some Joe Schmo in the gym that says, yeah, eat gummy bears during your workout. You know what I mean?
Joe, for real, Joe. So when you were backstage, how long did you pump up?
So I pumped up for about like 20 minutes. You know what I mean? But I was, so I would do about like 2 minutes. So I would pump up, I would do push-ups. I had a couple routines I'd hit with the bands, and then I would wait about 2 minutes. And then about every 20 minutes, I would have rice cake until it was time to go on stage.
How'd you feel with that process?
I felt good. You know what I mean? I like the rice cakes. You know what I mean? I feel like nice and full when I have the rice cake. Give me something in my stomach, and yeah, it went very well.
Okay. All right. Is there anything you would change about the backstage routine that you're like, maybe if I did this, maybe if I did that?
No. I mean, it all rolled pretty smoothly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No, it was good.
So how did you maintain the level of intensity necessary to keep making gains throughout the prep? Like when the energy got low and you were, energy's low and you got to train, and because we weren't upgrading your calories on leg day.
No.
Right. How did you find the energy? What mentally made you go? Like, how did you find it mentally going? Because I think that's where a lot of people struggle when they prep is to keep grinding hard when they feel like shit.
Yeah. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Some days the grind's gonna beat you down, but you know what I mean? It's like I got to the point where like it's just like I wanted it as bad as I wanted to breathe. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm fully committed, I'm all in, you know what I mean? I'm only letting myself down by not pushing, not throwing that extra plate on. Knowing in my head, you know what I mean, I can get one more rep, but I got to know that I got to get outside of my comfort zone, and you know what I mean, I got to go for a little bit more, you know what I mean, because there's no growth in, you know what I mean, staying in that comfortable zone, you know. So I got to push harder, and it's all in the mindset, you know what I mean. Like, one thing for me is, you know what I mean, I would you know, I would watch things, you know, it depends on my mood for the day. Some days, you know what I mean, I'm rocking out, listening to rock, and you know what I mean, I'm motivated, ready to go. Other days, I'm not fucking motivated, I don't feel like fucking doing it, but I push myself, and that's where the discipline comes in. You know what I mean? You gotta push yourself, and you gotta fucking do it, and get it done. And days like that, that's where I need to listen to something that helps lift me up. You know what I mean? Like positive self-talk, you know what I mean? You gotta listen to something good, positive, get you, you know what I mean, in that right state of mind.
What's some of the positive stuff you would listen to?
So some of the positive stuff I would listen to would be like, you know what I mean, like, Les Brown, you know, motivational speaker.
Man,
Les Brown, you got Eric Thomas, you got Tony Robbins,
Preach.
Chewbacca, the Marine guy.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But, you know what I mean? You just got to remember, you know what I mean? Not everybody is motivated every day to do it, but if you just stick to the discipline, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just push yourself.
Yeah. How about you, Rashad? When you were, it's been a while, but like right now you're going through a process like where you're having to do 80 minutes of cardio, and you, other than looking great, you're not really looking at a show right now, but you're trying to look a lot better.
Yeah.
So what keeps you motivated to push hard when you don't have the energy necessarily?
I mean, right now, I would tell people is like pretty much what you were telling. You didn't specifically say this, but when you give somebody that much cardio, I already know your mindset. It's like, if you don't lose anything on this, I know you fucking up. So if I don't, and my first check-in on this 80 minutes cardio is tomorrow morning. So as soon as we finish this, I'm going straight to sleep. So I can't have to sleep to have good check-ins. But regardless, it's like, if I do all this cardio, but I'm fucking up on a diet, then what's the point of me doing this?
Right.
So right now, my motivation is just to get back down myself and just keep the discipline. Because like multiple people say, you can have all the motivation in the world, that's only gonna last for so long. You have to be disciplined with it. And of course, I got a partner that's along with her fitness journey too, so it helps. But like for me, I just gotta dig deep and go back to not necessarily the dark place that I was at during prep necessarily, but I need to keep that same focus just to get there. So like, I've just set many goals for myself. Like next one right now, I got the military, we got this new PT thing coming up. Like, you know what, I want to get my waistline back down to a 31, like I had at one point. So doable in the time frame that we got, but still something that I'm focusing on right now. So for me, it's just focus on something, keep eye on that for right now, and just keep it moving.
For me, I always had to remember what I was sacrificing to do it. Like, you know, with the children, with the kids, I'm sacrificing time with them. With the, you know, with my ex-wife, it was like I'm taking away time from her. So I got to make it all count, you know. And, you know, when you get to the next level, because make no mistake about it, you have everything it takes to get to the next level. You have the structure. We just need to fill in some body parts, and it's like you will have what it takes to be at the next level. The mental aspect, I believe you completely upgraded your mental strength and stamina throughout this prep, because that's what it takes, right? Like the ability to work through pain, the ability to work through being uncomfortable, the ability to enjoy being uncomfortable, and the ability to be more excited about what you can achieve than disappointed in what you're sacrificing, right? And I think, but when I was doing it, obviously there was a financial reward too, but believe it or not, like if you do not get that work ethic when you're an amateur, the financial reward don't matter.
Yeah.
Because when you're in those moments where it's really hard, like sometimes it's hard to see past that moment, you know, like, and I had some of those moments, you know, like, where had I just done that show, my career would have been even better had I done that show. So, you know, I always tell people, you know, when you start your plan and you're level-headed, you're not level-headed when you're dieting. You're all over the place.
No.
You know, you think wacky stuff, man.
Yeah.
It's just like, you're not rational. Everything is magnified. You're mad for no reason. You're upset for no reason. Other times you're happy and the shit is not even a big deal. You're just like, oh, I get a muffin. And you're so happy, you know? Like, so your thoughts are irrational when you're dieting because everything's so extreme. But when you're not dieting, you set your game plan. I always tell people, try and stick to that game plan, because when you set that game plan when you weren't dieting, that's when you're in your most rational element, like when you're rational thought.
Right.
When it makes sense. Like, you're able to set a game plan not based on the emotion of the moment, but based on what's truly the best for the trajectory of your journey, right? So, you know, and that's what I try and, so, you know, we have to talk about what we're going to do next, but which I feel like, you know, taking advantage of this rebound right now is a great opportunity, and then going into a nice little recovery phase, right? Because a lot of people don't do that enough. Like, that recovery phase is huge, and then, you know, cranking it up for whatever national show we're going to do next year,
Yeah.
right? Because, you know, when you win an overall in New York, it's different than when you're overall at the Delaware.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a different level of competition, right? So, that's the toughest competition you're going to face, really, in that tri-state, that New York, New Jersey app, right? Like, it's different.
Right.
Did you feel like it was different when you were there?
Oh, I felt like it was a hell of a lot different. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's definitely different from the way things were run in Philly. It just, you know, it was a whole different atmosphere, everything.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I couldn't ask for it to win any other way, you know what I mean? I was kind of a little discouraged at first, you know, in Philly. I kind of was down, but I was like, you know what? We're going to go in there and just re-clear my mind, reset, readjust, and refocus, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, I wasn't like mad at myself, you know what I mean? Because I always feel like I could do more, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But I had to remind myself, you know what I mean? I've been working hard. I've been putting in the work. Just reset, readjust, and refocus, like I said, and let's just focus on this next show that's coming up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. So, yeah, I mean, that's all you can do, right? You got to keep moving.
Oh.
I think I sent you that the last week, right? Didn't I send it to you last week or something? Like, you were talking about something. I was just like, I don't remember any of that. All I remember is what we're doing today and tomorrow. Did I
Yeah.
say something like that to you?
Yes, you did. Yeah.
Right, because, like, whatever happened. We can't worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
Well, we're like, you try not to make mistakes, but even with the best intentions, no one's perfect.
Right.
Right? No one goes through a 16-week prep perfect,
Right.
right? It's just, can you be 99% good so that when you do make that mistake, it doesn't throw off the whole thing,
Yeah.
right? You know, I mean, I know people that once a week they're fucking up.
Yeah.
So if you can be consistent 99% of the time, then if you do have a mishap, it truly is just a mishap, and it's just okay. We took one small step back. Let's keep moving forward.
Right.
You know, and the stress that comes along with if you fuck up,
Oh, man, it was tremendous.
right?
You
You're
know,
like,
I was weighing in on my own self. Like, you
I
what
know.
mean? Like, I was just like, before, because of my past mistakes of not saying anything to you,
Right.
like when I come right into the gym that night, you know what I mean? Like,
well, I was like, yeah, you
something's
fucked
wrong.
up.
Yeah.
You showed up and you sent me these updates where you're 7 pounds heavier. I'm like, what you eat? What you eat?
7 pounds of s'mores cereal.
Oh shit! And then you got an asshole coach who's gonna call you out and tell everybody, "Hey, Shane ate a box of cereal." Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, man. So, you know, I think one of the mistakes I made when I was first competing is pumping up way too long.
Okay.
I was backstage, like, I'm sure you see this, right? When you're backstage, like people just pumping up forever.
Yeah.
Forever. It's like you have limited glycogen storage. Like you probably depleted in the first part of the week, and then you ate a good amount of carbs for 2 to 3 days. And you're back there pumping up. Like you ate enough carbs to do a marathon. You know, people are back there pumping, and that's the mistake that I see a lot of people make. Like, actually, if you're on point and in shape, you literally can do some push-ups, and you're like, boom.
Yeah, I felt pretty swole.
Yeah, right?
I
Like,
was
you
like,
could do
once
some-
I felt right, nice and tight and hard, I was like, you don't want to keep pushing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, it's like, at that point, just pose.
Yeah.
Just pose, you know, and we saw that with you, like, in between, like, we're not going to run any more diuretics, let's just pose.
Yeah.
And it got you a lot tighter, you know, so I think, again, it's that idea of putting in that work, man, because when you're in that level at the prep where you're like no body fat, you're eating enough to carb up, you really don't feel like fucking posing.
Right. And speaking of that, you know, that reminds me of backstage, you know, the difference between Philly and New York. You know what I mean? Philly, you could have those bands all the way until right before you go on stage. New
Right.
York, there's a certain cutoff point backstage where you're not allowed to have bands no more.
Yeah.
You have to be ready to just get on stage.
Yeah.
So then what I started doing was I started running through my quarter turns like right before going on stage.
Right.
You know what I mean? And just to keep, you know what I mean, the
Mhm.
tightness.
And you feel like
just-
that worked?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
posing work.
Posing definitely
sure.
works. Definitely works.
You know,
Yeah.
because everybody else was just like just standing around. I'm like, nah, I'm gonna keep, you know, what I mean, posing, you know what I mean, and then just stick to my little rounds. You know what I mean? I would do a round, wait about a minute, and then do another round.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I had my first, my second pro show. I didn't like, so my first pro show was good size. It was like 12 or 13 people. My second pro show, we had like 20 something guys out. And my last name is Smalls, which means I'm last towards the end. So I'm pumping up when, let's say, Albert is pumping up. Well, shit, Albert went and did his 60-second routine, and in the pro level, they don't cut you off. So if you want to be out there 75 seconds, you fine, you can be out there 75 seconds.
Oh wow.
So, and we're not talking about the music routine, we're talking about prejudging. So you're just out there doing your compulsory turns and stuff and poses. And you're like, pumping up. I'm like, whew. And then I see Hide, right? And his last name starts with Y. He's laying on the floor. He starts to pump up when the first guy hits the stage. And that was a really expensive lesson to learn. Because my first pro show, I got 5th. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm coming a little tired, a little drier. And I'm getting, and at that time, top 3 qualified for the Olympia.
Mhm.
So I'm getting top 3. I wouldn't have anybody in mind beat me at that show. Like, the guy who won, Troy Alves, was only 200 and maybe 15 pounds. So and he was shredded. So my thing was, I'm gonna come in harder, fucking diced, and I'm gonna beat him.
Right.
And yeah, I looked like I stopped lifting 2 weeks before the show by the time I got out there, because I was like flat as fuck from
wow.
having to pump up so long. Because now you pump up, now they line you up, and you got to watch all them guys do their 60-second, 75-second routine. And you're like, fuck, shit, I don't have nothing else to pump up with.
Right.
You know, and at that point, taking in the honey and all that stuff backstage is just not hitting you the same. You know, it's either not hitting you, or it's going too fast, or it just doesn't feel the same. But I think I've told you before, like, if you can't get a pump, take a swig, Gatorade or Coke or something like that, and usually that'll kick you right in. But at the time, I mean, that was over, 13 years ago. I didn't do that. It was like you stick to your rice cakes and jelly, and that's it. Like, we didn't even touch water for like 20 hours out.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, and and not that this are necessarily wrong, because again, I got 5th my first one doing that. But if it don't hit right, you messed up.
Right. Something's wrong.
You flat.
Yeah.
So, if you're not willing to take a sip of this, a little salt, and all that stuff, then you're just going to stay flat, right? So, But yeah, I had exhausted myself, and I went out there, and it was just like I ended up in 11th. So I went from 5th in my first show to 11th in my second show. I just remember being like, all right, I was so messed up. And it was like, going into the show, I looked better than I did the previous show.
Mm-hmm.
What I did backstage, that little detail messing up backstage, messed me up. And it's like, you can do everything right,
Oh, man, until right before.
man, but if that last night into the right backstage, going on stage is messed up, you can blow your chances.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy, like how every little nuance in this piece to get ready for a show is so important.
Yeah.
Shows are so important. So, well, you did it really well this time. You know, I think we learned even more about your body.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, really great to hear you say, you know, I mean, like, I don't know if you want to share with the audience. If not, it's cool. I'm not going to bring it unless you want to. But like, I just think it's a great story to see how you battle back from some adversity to hit this, because like, I think it would inspire a lot of people to know all the shit you've gone through in the last 2 years
Yeah.
to get back to this point of being a champion.
Right.
Like say that. You say that? Like, I'm a fucking champion now.
I'm a fucking champion.
Yeah, like,
It's still,
you know, like-
you know what I mean? Still hasn't really said it yet. You know what I mean? Still just absorbing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, you last man standing on that stage,
Yeah. Really, it felt good, man.
right?
Yeah, man.
Right? Like, tell them no food tastes as good as that,
No, not at all.
right?
You know what I mean? And really, you know what I mean? Like, the feeling is great. You know what I mean? Like, you do all that dying, and then you, like, think about all the stuff you want to eat and drink right afterwards. But the adrenaline is pumping so much, and you're just, like, in that moment, like, you don't even think about none of that
Nah,
shit
right?
at that time. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I remember when I tell people, like, I've told this story before, when I won nationals, my rotator cuff was torn, and it hurt so bad. But when I knew I was going to win, it didn't hurt no more.
Right.
For that moment in time, like, I mean, after I did photo shoots, it was fucked up. But like, for that moment in time, right before they said, you know, and the winner is, my shoulder didn't hurt at all.
No pain.
That night didn't hurt at all. Next day doing the photo shoots didn't hurt at all. And it was like, the mind is so powerful. You know, like you let negative in your mind and it will destroy you. You agree with that?
No, I'm a firm believer of that. And I also think, you know what I mean, we're stronger than we think we are, but first we got to believe it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's-
Self-imposed limitations, you know what I mean, keep most people back from reaching their potential, in my eyes, you know?
Ooh, good one. Self-imposed limitations will inhibit you from reaching your true potential. That's awesome. I don't know if you said it that way, but that is a dope line. I like that. I like that a lot. When you were doing this, who are some of the key people in your corner that supported you?
So, you know what I mean, I got my family with me, you know what I mean, my mom, being real supportive, you know, but, you know, other than that, you know what I mean, it's just been, you know, you've been real supportive, you know what I mean, everybody here at the training center, man, you know what I mean, y'all are like family here, you know what I mean, like, my day doesn't feel complete unless I come here, you know, it feels like family, I feel like a lot of love here, you know,
Yeah.
got a lot of support from you guys, man, and it's, you know, that's what's helped me too as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's always a day. It always brightens everybody's day when you come. Your energy's so good.
Appreciate
Like you're
that, man.
like you know, like I've noticed that this time. Like your energy is really positive. You know, and I think it's because you've had some adversity to go through, and now it feels like when you can feel blessed to be able to do what you love to do because it almost got taken away from you.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
No, for 100%, yeah.
Yeah, like you got to step away from it, be out of it, and then you came back to it. You know,
Yeah.
For me in 2006 when I injured my wrist, like up until that point I played with it. You know, I did a show and I get fat. Do a show and then I let something else interfere. Do a show and you know, and I always had the potential. People have been telling me I could be a pro since I was 18, but in 2006 when I hurt my wrist real bad, and I was like, damn. And I couldn't lift. Like I couldn't even lift an 8-pound weight with the wrist. You know.
Wow.
And doctors tell you well, you're just going to have to learn to lift lighter. Or if you tear it, we can do surgery. I was like, that's a shitty scenario. I don't like any of those.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to rehab it myself. And that's what I did. And but what it made me do is appreciate the ability to have the opportunity to do the sport. And not just do the sport. Like, guys who do this sport, there are those that kill themselves, do everything perfect, and still don't really look that great.
Mm-hmm.
Genetics are key, right? Like, what you did, this is why I tell you, without question, have the ability.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you came back to me skinny and fat.
Yeah, totally gone.
And,
Everything.
yeah. And how long did it take us to get back?
So really, I mean, fully committed was like October.
Yeah. So, we're in
I'd say October.
For April?
Yeah.
like we built a championship physique in what's that, 6 months, 7 months?
Yeah. Like 6
That's
months.
fucking crazy,
Yeah.
right? So you genetically are gifted. You got people that could do this shit for 7 years and couldn't do what you did in 7 months.
Right.
So I mean, your ability to grow, and I mean, it's your hard effort, it's your relentless effort, it's your consistency, it's your discipline, without question. But if you didn't have the genetics,
Yeah.
it would take us much longer to get to a point. Like, you went into the show and be like, oh, he's gonna do well. Not like I told you earlier on, you're gonna win,
Right.
right? Like, you're gonna win. So when we got second last week, I'm like, okay, well maybe, we need, and then like I saw some video and I'm like, all right, we can nail that peak better.
Yeah.
It's from a coach's standpoint, you are so emotionally invested in your people. It's like when they don't do well, you feel it, man. It's like you can have 10 winners, but that one guy that didn't do as well as you had hoped,
Right.
fucking
It's
sinks on you,
hard.
right? So I'm like, all right, next week. And I was like on you, like we're do this, pictures every day, and we even changed the approach the way I was sending the menus,
Yeah.
so you can get it faster. Like everything was just, let me change little things to make sure we can get a better result this week.
Yeah, we went to pictures like every few hours.
Right.
After every, what was it? After 3 meals and 90 minutes after the third meal, 10
Yeah.
pictures.
Yeah, and I'm like, where are my pics, Shane? You're like, were you
Yeah.
supposed to send them again? Yes.
Yeah.
Where are my pics?
Yeah.
Because I knew what I was looking for. It was like, I just needed that tie-in from the back to be there, distinctly there, not vaguely, distinctly there before we really drop that last one, right? Because if that's there, then I know it's going to be there in the morning.
Right.
Like, I know that's going to be there. I was wanting to see that. So whether it was adjusting the carbs or decreasing the fluid, bringing up the fluid, like I needed to see it. So we were just playing with little things the whole time, And it's like, and I think that's what people really don't realize, like what a coach is doing when they're really in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you, like there's so many ways it can go right, and there's so many ways it can go wrong.
100%.
So it's just like you have to be on top of everything. Do you, what are you gonna do this week? Like, do you feel lost a little bit this week? Cause
To be honest with you, I felt like I was doing something wrong when I was not eating my diet food. I felt like I was I've been so used to dieting, you know what I mean? Like, I felt like I was doing something wrong by eating shit that I wasn't supposed to.
Right,
I mean,
right.
I felt guilty about it. But I was like, you know what? You told me to enjoy the food, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We just won, you know what I mean? And really, I couldn't wait to get in here today, you know what I mean, to actually talk to you about what was going to be our next plan.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? And I think we're already on the same page as far as, you know what I mean, building up on the weak body parts and then focusing in on the show next year.
I remember I did the USA one year, and I did really well. First time getting top 3 out there. And, I have I think 12 to 13 weeks to nationals. From from the USA, you know, and cause at that time it was in October. And I remember going, like, I didn't touch base with my trainer. I was just fucking eating. Just wanted to eat. And he hits me up. He's like, Fred, we got a show to win. What are you doing? I sent him my picture. He's like, you don't want to fucking win. You know, like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'll be okay. You know? And, you know, but, you know, he in his mind had a idea what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
I screwed it up by eating 2 weeks. You know, it's like, it's crazy how everything's important. You know, like if you're really going to try and move forward and make consistent process. Like I see some guys and they just get fat. And I'm like, that's not it.
Yeah.
Like that's not it. You know, like we did that for years. That's not it.
Right.
You know, like you definitely want to put some weight on. You know, like firm believer in putting weight. But if you at least want to see some resemblance of abdominals, you know.
Yeah.
If you're not, you got way too much to lose. And more importantly, your body's going to feel heavy, which means your training's going to suffer, which means your body as a defense mechanism is going to fight for you to get any heavier, right? So the anabolic ability to grow as much muscle as possible gets hindered. Right? We carry more fat, we carry more estrogen receptors, you know, like all of those things matter. And it's why we try and keep it a little tighter in the off season. Like we have our cheats and we have our foods and we eat a lot of food. You know, we eat a lot of food in the off season.
Yeah.
But if you do it right, you can consume a lot more and not really get that fat.
No.
You know, so, and which means that when we diet the next time, you're dieting even on a higher caloric level, which means we maintain more muscle and can actually grow into the show, right? So, yeah, I think that becomes a missing piece when people are you know, when you get done your show, it's like that's why you don't want to go. Like everyone worries about like edema and health markers and all this kind of stuff, but you know, I can tell you, it's highly unlikely that you're gonna really hurt yourself from overeating after the show. It's gonna be really fucking uncomfortable. It's gonna suck. And you're gonna feel like hell if you overeat too much. But your body will rebound because it will stop you.
Yeah.
Right? You'll have heartburn so bad you won't want to eat anything.
Well, I made that mistake with the sampler tray one time.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I ate so much feel like my stomach was ready to explode after the first show we did.
Right. Yeah, like the first show I did, I remember. Well, Shad, what did you eat after your first show?
I had 6
Movie
sweet
popcorn.
potato cupcakes, sweet potato cupcakes. Then went to the movie theater.
I knew it. I wasn't wrong. I wasn't wrong.
It's at the Brandywine movie theater where you gotta go upstairs to the sessions. Went in there, got my popcorn, walked out of the movie theater. Didn't even get a movie nothing.
I'm just here for the popcorn.
And then 24 Red Lobster biscuits.
Damn, 4.
I only ate 18 of them. But
Damn.
And then, let me rephrase that. Immediately after the show, I killed a bottle of Pedialyte in like 2 minutes. I ain't give no food mattered, like you said.
You were just
all I wanted was
thirsty.
that Pedialyte.
Right.
And then I got the other stuff, and then I passed out on the couch as soon as I got home.
Yeah.
And I was only like 20 minutes from the show, like in my house.
That's
so I had to
great.
get a hotel or nothing. I just died on the couch immediately with a biscuit in my hand.
So did you go to Red Lobster just for the biscuits too?
Nothing else. Nothing else.
Went to the movies just for popcorn, and then went to Red Lobster just for the biscuits.
And I ordered it on my phone. This is when I found out that Red Lobster, you can just order biscuits. So I was ordering on my phone on the way to Red Lobster. Went to the shop, right, got the sweet potato cupcake, went to the movie theater, got the popcorn.
Nice.
Then went to Red Lobster, and then that was it.
They do got good biscuits.
That's the only thing they got good now.
I made the mistake of I left one show one time and I go to 7-Eleven. I don't know how you spend $80 in 7-Eleven, but I spent $80 in 7-Eleven.
Wow.
And then we went to our hotel and I ate everything I could. I eat everything out of the 7-Eleven that I bought. And then I go downstairs and they had a little buffet there. and I ate there. And I remember I'm sitting in the room just like, right, trying not to die. I'm breathing so hard. And in my mind, I'm like, push through it. You only have 3 days to eat before you got to diet again. Push through it. And then I competed in nationals. I mean, the overall was actually Friday night. So Saturday, go back, check the pros out. And they're like, damn, didn't you just compete yesterday? Like, you look big as shit. Like,
Yeah, right?
I did not. I went to the breakfast buffet that morning. On the way into the show, I grabbed like an ice cream sandwich. Backstage, I'm eating protein bars, everything. We leave there, we go on the boardwalk in Atlantic City. I go and get one of those. And I don't even think I've had one since, but it was like this waffle, chocolate syrup, ice cream, with strawberries on top, you know.
Wow.
I just gone.
One of the big waffle cones.
Yes. No, sandwiches.
Oh, sandwiches.
Gone, right? Then my buddy's like, hey, Fred, you want to meet for lunch? Sure. Gonna meet him for lunch. By this time, I'm waddling. I'm not even walking.
He's waddling.
Right? And I remember my wife at the time goes, I think you ought to slow down. I'm like, I only got 3 days. I've only got 2 days left. So, like, there's that White House sub shop up there. So I got they're like 24-inch subs, bro. I got one, done, dusted off.
Nice.
I'm like, my wife at the time's like, you want to take the kids to the park? I'm like, as long as I can use the stroller. As long as I can use the stroller. So I'm walking with the stroller, and every like 5-10 steps, I'm like, right, I'm breathing hard and everything, and I'm like, and I remember we get back to Delaware, and going to a local restaurant, another restaurant. I'm like, it's Monday now. Like, cancel all my clients. I gotta eat today because I gotta start my diet tomorrow.
I need the day with the food.
Bro, I gained 48 pounds in 3 days.
What?
Damn.
Holy
48
shit.
fucking pounds, bro.
It's impossible.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I did 70 pounds in a week after I did Brazil.
That's amazing.
I have been dieting from, I dieted from,
And your body's just, because your body's so depleted and just sucks it all up, right?
sucks it all up. It's like I don't even know if I shit. I just keep taking through it.
Just sucking it all
Suck
up.
it in, man. But like, and the heartburn is so terrible. I'm like, fuck it, Prilosec, keep going. You know? It's like,
Box of Prilosec.
so when I tell you you're not gonna die, I don't think you can do it more extreme than I've done it. I did the Honor Brazil 2013, and my buddy Tavares went with me to the show, and we got done. So of course we're eating that night, partying in the club, and the next day we go on the beach in Rio, and we're, eating all the street, vehicles are out there. We're eating from all of them. We go to the airport. We're eating through the airport the entire time. By the time we got back to Philly, he goes, bro, you look like you are double. Like, double yourself. Like, what the hell? So I knew I had to start dieting for a guest posing I was going to do. And I knew I had to start dieting for the Chicago Pro. So I said, I got this week to eat, and that's it. And I gained 72 pounds that week.
Wow.
Yeah. I went to the Pittsburgh Pro guest posing, and Jim Mannion had told my coach, if Freddie's in shape, he can guest pose tonight. And George's like, oh, he's going to be in shape. It's only been a week since the show. And I showed up, and Guy Sisterino looks at me and goes, don't eat another motherfucking thing ever. What the hell? My face was big, Like, I think the interview is on it's on YouTube. Bob Ciccarello was like, you really enjoyed some food this week.
Yeah, right.
Like, you came away with a great showing in Arnold, Brazil. A lot of people had you winning. Like, was that last week?
Like, damn, sure wasn't a month ago?
And I remember we're driving back, and I had to start my diet the next day. Driving back, and it hit midnight. And I stopped the car. I'm like, my wife at the time's like, what are you doing? I'm like, there's a payday in here somewhere. And I know I bought it, I didn't eat it yet. I want this.
From the 7-Eleven trip.
This is a different show. Like, I want this payday. So I'm like looking in the car, I found it. I'm like, I mean, it was like crazy how much food I consumed, and I did not stop. I remember I came in here, your back hurts, your ankles hurt, like you can barely breathe. Like, everyone was like, holy shit, how much you eating? I took a diuretic before I went up to that show. So I was like, I mean, I don't even know. I don't even think I took it. I took it what's called PGCL. You inject it here and here, and it makes you like just empty everything. So I had dropped 20 pounds, and they still were like, holy shit, how did you eat so much? So yeah, like I remember being so uncomfortable. And we took the kids to Pittsburgh Zoo, and I was like, we had our stroller, but I remember having to rent another one because I was like, I needed something to walk around.
Just something to hold
My
yourself
lower
up,
back hurt so bad from eating so much.
All the extra weight. you
All
put
the extra
on.
weight, yeah. I just felt like it just was killing my lower back. And like, you eat too much because you got to sit in your car like this.
Yeah.
You're like, because if you sit straight up, it just hurts too bad, you know?
Right.
Yeah, like it's crazy.
You get room for the belly to extend.
I mean, it's like, you would think you learn your lesson, but that was probably my hardest thing after shows is like to control my eating.
Right.
Because after shows, like I would just go so hard. And then like people want to bring you stuff, like your clients care about you, they're so supportive, and they want to bring you stuff. Like I had one guy who used to own a pizza shop, so he'd bring me like 3 whole extra large pizzas. Like,
Damn.
it was just crazy. And then, but getting back on it was never a problem because I had this on and off switch.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was off, it was like so hard to control it. And so it took me 2 years to get balanced. But by the time like I competed last 2021, pretty much all of 2022 and 2023 so far, I've kept it together. Or actually, all of 2022, I kept it together, stayed lean, stayed in pretty good shape, kept it balanced, didn't really have to do anything a whole lot. And then this year I decided to fuck it all up and try and compete at the Masters Olympia. So we're back to extremes again and being uncomfortable. And we're going to see if we can do what you just did. But
Definitely, man.
yeah. So did you use any of the big sports products when you were getting ready?
I did. Use RMR, and then I was having trouble sleeping, and you know what I mean. I used the Blue Heat, which really helped me out a lot because I was waking up every 2 hours, and it was a big problem because I wasn't getting a full night's sleep. And then once I incorporated the Blue Heat, man, I actually started getting a full night's sleep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How did the RMR help you at all?
Definitely helped me, man, as far as, you know what I mean, like getting more, like helping me getting through my workouts and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, you heard it from the champ himself. Rashad, you want to add anything? All right, cool. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed it. My man Shane here, and I hope you caught some good nuggets of information that you can apply to yourself as you go through your next prep and get ready for your next show. So, thanks for joining in. Please drop a comment. Let us know what you want to hear. Subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. We appreciate you.